Hello, this is Roman Budak. I'm going to show how to use the PN7160, the new NFC reader, in a very nice application to be able to read out the serial port. The hookup I have is a PN7160 reader board, is connected to a Arduino pinout board. That pinout board acts as an interposer and then connects up to my LPC824 espresso board. And with that, it has one USB connection on there. That USB connection will be used for programming the flash of the microcontroller and then act as a serial port as well. What's different on this demo is instead of using the console window like the older programs did, it will now just use a virtual serial port, which is here out of COM28. That is the default setting for it. And the COM port shows up as if the drivers are installed properly. I should see a virtual COM port here on COM28. That I will also find a CMSys programmer for the board as well for flash programming. Now the teraterm setup is that the serial port, again, if I don't know it, I could pull it. I would have to know it ahead of time. When you set up a new link, it would tell you virtual COM port now, but I know it's COM28, and it will give me the name here, VCOM28. If I had launched a program, I would have seen the descriptions when you pick out a serial port. I will also set up the terminal. The one that works good on receive mode is to make it auto rather than carriage return line. If you do the auto, that shows up much better. It's a VT100 terminal emulator. The encoding is just 8-bit, and the transmit doesn't really matter because you're not going to be hitting anything on the screen. That's to set up the terminal. Now the software, it comes when you download it off the web. It would be the SW for software 6705. I gave it an extra name underneath there, telling it what the example is. You can't import the project directly from the zip file. There's one more layer you have to extract. This has the software license agreement, README, which points you to the app note that has the instructions. But you do have to pull this, unfortunately, this out of the zip file one more level in order for it to import as a project. So now the one that's inside of it was this NXP NCI version 2.0. I go to my MCU Espresso. I'm using a version 11.5. You could do import underneath there, but you really, these quick panel here helps you out. It's got all the right macros and setup. So I want to import a project from a file system, browse it, and if I did this SW zip file directly, it wouldn't find an example. I have to go one level up again, extract that file. Now, when I hit next, it'll find all the examples. There's one for RT1170, a 55 family or family. I'm going to use the 82 family. I don't want to clutter everything up, so I will only load that software. And there is my example that's loaded. And I want to make sure, so I'm going to clean it and then build it. You would need the loaded, so installed SDKs. You would have to find that you had an LPC. Actually, it'll be I think an 80X family. You have to make sure that if you don't have the SDK, you would get errors here when it builds it. So it built it. I've got the USB connector connected. Left hold shift for dual probe discovery, and left click. And it found the as a serial programming device from the USB that's emulating a CMSys probe. Doesn't really matter if it's CMSys or J-Link. Either one of those will work fine. I'm going to flash it. Close this now so I can see my terminal. And again, the settings where serial port is 115-200. You have to change that. The default is 9600 baud. You want to change that, and then the setup for the terminal, again, the auto receive works best. Okay, so going back to my LCU Espresso, it's getting ready to run it. The old version, again, used the console. I could use this terminal to set it up as well, but I prefer to use teraterm if I'm going to use that. To execute it, you can hit F8 or this button up here. You have F8 and run it. Now my LED turns a bright green, and I can see here that it is running my teraterm, and it is showing output from the device. Right now it's running with the debugger, but it's flashed in the code. If I remove MCU Expresso and just power into a power source, it would run absolutely fine. And so what it's doing now is waiting for a card. So I will go ahead and place a variety of cards onto the device and see what it reads. This would be what you would parse out of your software when you're reading the serial port. So I placed the tag, and this particular one is a tamper tag. So it's telling me that the sense resistor is still intact. Don't worry about this provision. I'm not writing to the tag at the moment, but it read it, and its NFC ID is for the first ID here. If I read the second one, it's a different ID than the other previous one, and then I'll read a third ID, and it's different from that. I will also now place a NTAC 5 link, and that has a link. The container stores a web link to it. So when I touch it, the software recognizes it. It recognizes the card type, reads out the ID from the card, and it says that the container has a URL that's going to go to nxp.com/NFC. So read that, recognized it, and then if I just place a hotel key on there, it tells me that it's a MyFair card. It just gives the basic ID. I can't lock or unlock because I don't know what the key is. But these are just generic hotel keys. Here's a different hotel key, and so the same thing. It recognizes that it is a MyFair card and just gives me a basic ID from it, but won't let me do the unencryption because I don't have a key for it. So that shows how to run it, hopefully out of this serial terminal that allows you to be able to make a nice demo. Any questions? Let me know.